Welcome back, guys. It's been a while since I've done one of these tutorial videos. I think the last one I did was almost 3 weeks ago. So um, my last project that I stated that I was going to do was we were going to write more test infra tests, and following after that, we're going to do some elkstack installations with SaltStack. And I decided to basically combine the two. That being said, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write salt states that installs elkstack, and then we're also going to write the test that makes sure that elkstack gets installed. Now, this isn't going to be running every time on all of our hosts, obviously, because we only need to install it once. So this is only going to go ahead and make sure that it installs it in certain places. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and create the elkstack folder here. The elkstack is going to be a whole state altogether. In this file, we're going to go ahead and install Elasticsearch. And I'm going to keep the application separate. So Elasticsearch will be its own state, FileBeat is going to be its own state, Kibana and Logstash, they're going to be on their own states. And then the init.sls is what's going to group them all together, install it all in one host. The reason why I'm doing it all in separate states is because I may want to install Elasticsearch separately from elkstack together. So like I don't want elkstack or Logstash and Kibana to run if I just want to install Elasticsearch. So if you have already run Elasticsearch before, if you're used to Elasticsearch, you know that it's not primarily for elkstack. It can be used for other search stuff that you may want. So that's this way I can go ahead and separate them without having any issues. I can't spell install correctly. So package.installed, I believe I think it's sources where we want that URL. I may be wrong. Actually, let's check. .pkg. So if you don't know this application that I have, it's actually called Dash. It's only for Mac. I installed Alfred and Dash, and Alfred will call on Dash and perform searches for me. And Dash is an application where it basically it has a repository of documentation, SaltStack being one of them, and Chef and so on. So I can go and just look at the documentation without having to go to Google, and so makes it a little bit easier in my life, I think. So it's got sources, package.installed. Here we go. This is our this is the flag, or sorry, the parameter we want to use. And if we check down here, we should see a sources parameter. So, yep. See? So this way it's package.installed, and then the sources is whatever the package name is, and then the RPM. So in this case, we want, this is Elasticsearch, and that's going to be there. Okay. So there's a list of packages to install along with the URI. You can say URL, but it's actually URI, or local path to which install the packages. Foobar, yada yada, and foobar and bas refer to the name of the package as it would appear in the package.version or package list packages in the salt command CLI. So, okay, now that we've got the Elasticsearch part done, let me save this. Elasticsearch.sls. Then we'll have a new file, and this will be for Logstash. So, oops. make sure I got that right. I don't have that right. See, I did miss sources here. I think it's hyphen sources. Yes, it's a list. So sources, and then this is a list inside the list. And there we go. So sources, and we want, this is logstash, and logstash URL is, when this website loads, it's a little slow today. There we go. Again, I want the RPM because I'm installing it only on Red Hat based machines. If you're installing on different machines that you may not know, or different OS that you may not know what it is, then you have to do that whole Jinja thing where it's like, if Grains OS is Ubuntu or, or Debian, then use this link. Else, if it's Red Hat, use this link, and so on. Okay, so that's that's Logstash. So I need Kibana and FileBeats. All right. Oops. Install Kibana. And the source for Kibana is, make sure I got, yep, those are right. Okay, so source for Kibana. This is FileBeat, this is Kibana. All right. I know it's very wasteful to have just one package installed per SLS, but this way, if we need to do anything else, we keep it separate per the application. This isn't a one application that does all of it. This is actually sort of multiple applications coming together. So it may look a little weird, but this to me is the best way of doing things. Now we need FileBeat. Oops, that's Linux. I need RPM. Make sure everything is .rpm here. .rpm and .rpm. Okay, sweet. So new. Okay, so in our init.sls, I'm going to go ahead and include the states that we've already created. Since they're already in the directory of the init.sls, the same directory of the init.sls, I'm just going to do dot. And then the state name. So Elasticsearch. And you don't need the .sls, obviously. .filebeat and .kibana and .logstash. Also, don't forget, in Logstash, I didn't see it previously, missed the hyphen. Don't forget the hyphen there. And now that we've got this, we're going to go ahead and test this out. In our kitchen YAML file for this test, we're going to go ahead and add a new suite. So we'll say name logger, provisioner, grains. Oops, I'm getting a message. Grains role, and then we'll say logger for the grain. So now let's go to our top.sls and add this to our top.sls to run. So in our top.sls here, we're going to match by the role grain, the grain role. So we're going to say role, it's logger, that's what we named it. And it's going to match by grain because that's what role is. And we're going to run elkstack state in it. So this will go ahead and run, but it'll only match. So when you execute top.sls, let me reiterate, when you execute top.sls, every grain that's found in a minion with this particular grain, this logger grain. So if a minion has this logger grain, then it's going to install an elkstack on it. So which should only be one server in this case because you don't want multiple logger servers. You just want one centralized logging server. So now that we've got this, we've just set up our kitchen.yaml. Let's go ahead and test this out and converge. Okay, so it finished. It's got all the packages installed: Falby, Kibana, Elasticsearch, Logstash. I've actually installed some of these just for testing purposes, so that's why you don't see all of them being newly installed. It also did the general fake users that we had because that's matching every server that we have. And of course, it's going to go ahead and set the cloud info dictionary that we set again for every server that we've got. So that's pretty much it. Next, what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and finish the rest of this init.sls. So we're going to go ahead and get elkstack to start automatically if it's not. And after that, we're going to go ahead and write the tests for it. Now, normally, what I would do is I would write the tests first. Write the tests and test info first, and then write the state. Because that is the best method. That is the TDD method to go about. If you're a TDD person, which I am, you go in that route. You write the tests. You have all your requirements, what you need to do, what you need to install, how are you going to do it. You write the test, and then you make the state based on the test. So if you miss something on the test, you miss it in the state, and then you go, again, write it on the test, and then on the state. This way, what you do is that when you use the method, you always have a test for every state. And then if something's wrong with the state, the test will automatically fail. If you go the other route, where you write the state and then the test, you may have something on the state that you didn't explicitly set on the test. And that becomes a problem, because then if something happens with that particular section of the state and it's not being tested, then it gets ignored and still performs the action. So be careful with that. That's why I prefer the TDD method, where we write the tests and go from there. But in this section, because we're sort of explaining things, how to go about it, I wrote the state first and then the test. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and write the test and finish the rest of the state where the server starts and go from there. All right, we're going to write the test using test info. So I hope to see you guys then. Bye.